Morning, it's Thursday the 30th of September. It's coming up to 1 o'clock and I'm standing over from Cherry Valley Health Centre. Now, to get, as many of you know, to get to see a doctor in person, you have to jump through so many hoops. This is the new normal, folks. This is what we have now. We were supposed to save the NHS and all the rest of it, but we didn't know that this was going to be coming in for good. Where you have to phone down to talk to a receptionist who will assess whether you need to actually come and see a doctor. And, you know, how's a receptionist supposed to do that? And then to get a face-to-face consultation with the doctor will phone you back at some time between maybe 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock. So, you know, you have to wait in for this phone call, and sometimes they don't phone at all, and your phone or your message gets lost in the ether, and then the doctor gets back to you and he tells you, oh, you can't, I'm not available to see you, you know, you're fobbed off. And the receptionists are constantly telling you that the doctors are inundated. And then eventually the doctor will see you, maybe 3-4 weeks after you initially phoned, or 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever it happens to be. You just can't go and see the doctor like you used to. And Robin Swan and others are lining up to tell us that, you know, the health service is inundated, that the wards are at capacity and they're overflowing and the ambulances are waiting. Well, we've had that even 10 years ago and nothing was done about it. In fact, the exact opposite was done about it, because we have known that the health service has been deliberately run down over the last number of years, 10 years, and it's been deliberately run down to save money, and it's all about the money. So you're constantly being told by the BBC and by Robin Swan, oh, the wards are full, oh, the ICUs are full. And why? Because, and we're being told that nurses are run off their feet and they're near breaking point and all the rest of it. This is very strange, because over the last 5 to 10 years, wards in our major hospitals have been closed. And that puts pressure on nurses and doctors elsewhere. And nurses have not been trained. You know, they didn't set aside the money to train them. Big reason why our hospitals are inundated and stretched is because GP surgeries in health centres are closed, largely closed. And people are voting with their feet. They want to have a face-to-face consultation. They don't want to wait for phone calls and whatnot. Their situation needs urgent attention. And the only place that you can get urgent attention is hospitals, or our hospital A&Es. So that's why they're being inundated. I have a friend who rang up her surgery. It wasn't this particular surgery, health centre. And she was told that the doctor couldn't see her. He was inundated. And do you know what? She went for her jab, and there he was, giving out jabs. when he should have been in surgery and talking to patients and sorting them out. And we all know that this, that to make any proper assessment of anybody, their condition, you need a face-to-face consultation, and people are being denied that. And people are going to die from this because they didn't get a face-to-face consultation because their condition wasn't assessed properly. How can you possibly assess somebody over a telephone? This is totally ridiculous. This is a Daily Mail article from the 20th of September. And it says, Boris Johnson he urges them. He doesn't make them, but he urges them, GPs, to offer more in-person consultations with patients amid growing calls to halt remote appointments. Boris Johnson last night he pressurised them, my goodness, to offer more in-person consultation. His spokesman said every patient had the right to a face-to-face appointment. It's not good. 57% of GP appointments are now in person compared to 80% before the pandemic. That's nonsense. That's lies. Doctors say phone appointments allow them to get through more patients. That's very good. It's all about numbers. But critics believe doctors are more likely to miss the signs of more serious illness if they're not seen in the flesh. Well, isn't that the truth? So let's see what some people are commenting. They get paid to do a job, and now that most people are vaccinated, they need to go back to their office. The next time you phone the GP surgery and they tell you it is a telephone appointment only, tell them it's disgraceful and that they need to open up their doors again. The more people who tell them, the better. But do it politely. They need to know exactly how we feel about this ridiculous situation. I have been telling them. I find it strange that checkout staff in shops and supermarkets have people go past them every 10 to 15 minutes a day with next to no problem. They are saving people's lives by making sure that we get our groceries. A doctor has one-on-one in his surgery but can't carry out his job, the job that he chose and is highly paid to do, access and save lives. All right. And here we go. New contracts pay per patient seen face to face. No more money for merely having a patient on the books. Urges. How about ordering them to and threatening them with a change of contracts if they refuse? If there was a financial incentive to do face-to-face consultations, the GPs would do it in a flash. Currently, they only leave their home offices to jab people and collect bonuses associated with jabbing people. GPs are a business, all for profits, never about the patient. Now, you may or may not agree or disagree with some of these comments. And this is an article by Sarah Vine, and it dates from 21st of September. Twice in my life I've been saved by my GP. Would I still be here if I hadn't seen them face to face? Asked Sarah Vine. And I'm going to show you some of the comments to that. Before I moved out of the UK last Christmas, I had to take my 6-year-old daughter to A&E twice, both times over minor infection that needed a simple dose of antibiotics. The GP wouldn't see her, but didn't feel comfortable writing a prescription without her being seen. We sat for 10 hours the first time and 8 hours the second time for a junior doctor who was absolutely rushed off their feet to take a 2-minute look at her and prescribe a bottle of penicillin. Meanwhile, our GP only went into surgery a few hours each week. They have been a disgrace. We started to use our present surgery in 1981 when the practice had 6 doctors. We could usually see the same doctor same day if it was urgent, and take our pick of our favourite doctor if we waited a few days. Now the practice has a huge number of part-timers, and of course face-to-face has stopped completely. Doctors are now on 100 grand for sitting in a call centre. Is this progress? I won't write a long-winded story on here, but I was told the wrong time to come to the surgery by the doctor yesterday for him to check my breast, as I had been having real bad pains in one. When I arrived at 5:30, he refused to see me. He had one person left to see before he finished. I was so upset for the whole day of waiting in a queue for an hour to be told no slots left, to then be told doctor needed to ring me, so waiting for that all day, to then being told by the doctor the wrong time, as English was his second language, and communication over the phone made it more difficult. Isn't that the truth? When I got outside the surgery, I actually cried. I don't cry easily. I was totally let down by the surgery and left thinking I don't have the energy to face it all again. I will, because I won't let it put me off and realise how important it is to get things checked, but some people would just give up, and that's worrying. Took my mum for a diabetic blood test. The building is locked, and we have to wait for the receptionist to let us in. By the time we got in, the lady in front of us was late for an appointment. The nurse refused to see her for being late. She wasn't late. She spent 15 minutes waiting outside with us. You can't get through on the phone. If you manage it, you have to tell the receptionist what is wrong, so that they can decide whether or not the doctor will give you a phone. Triaged by a receptionist, it's another shambles. However, if you've got money, you can get an appointment tomorrow. I thought being a GP was about caring, not about money, but you couldn't. But you could have fooled me. Oh dear. This just goes on and on. I am a cancer patient. My GP refused to see me when another issue arose. Best they could offer was a telephone consultation in 18 days' time. I took myself off to A&E. Within 2 days I was seeing an oncologist. Scans arranged, new chemo plan in place. I had a battery of blood tests, all of which came back abnormal. My GP had the nerve to text me and say, book an appointment ASAP, because the blood results were worrying. I gave them such a mouthful on the phone, moved to another doctor who is more than willing to see people, and reported my old surgery for negligence. It's just ridiculous that doctors are refusing to do the work that they are paid for, while A&E is being overrun with people with minor ailments, tying up staff who should be free for more urgent work. And here's another set of comments in answer to a face-to-face petition that was launched. I don't understand why GPs are not doing face-to-face appointments. Our surgery is still not doing them unless it's absolutely necessary. Everything is back open now, so doctors should be back to normal now and not making it so hard to get a response of any kind. Been on the phone for ages for even an answer. I have had to accept a phone consultation about my mental health. This call then took place while I was out in a busy shopping area. I was afraid not to take the call because you get one call back from the GP, and if you miss that, you have to start again the next day trying to get through and begging for some help. So I stood in tears in a crowded street and told my GP that my current situation of having to leave my job to look after my elderly, severely ill parents had me feeling suicidal. His response was to prescribe me antidepressants. These caused such bad side effects I had to come off them, but rather than try again, I just ordered some natural remedies online, and I am coping the best I can, which is sometimes not brilliantly. God help us all when we have to self-medicate for cancer and the like. And that day is coming, if it isn't already here. There are still some really good old-style GPs out there who genuinely care about their patients. My parents are lucky enough to have GPs that are amazing at what they do. Many, however, seem to see patients as an inconvenience, and that gets in the way of whatever it is they do with their working day. And this is a next-door neighbour, Braniel, Belfast. And this lady, Kim Spence, has asked the question, has anybody else had trouble trying to contact Cherry Valley Group Practice? I've been trying to get through to them now for 5 days. Absolutely disgraceful. And these series of comments are in answer to her query. And here's a lady called Jenny Irvine. Took me 144 times back in July to get through to someone. I really dread if my children ever get sick, as you have to phone at 8:30, but I'm on the school runs at that time, so it'll be a nightmare to try and get an appointment. My mum did have one a few days ago, but it got cancelled due to renovations. And Brian Gilbraith said, don't think it's worth changing GPs as they're all the same. It's worrying because something serious is going to be missed as people can't be bothered trying to get through. And I have said, no, it's not because people can't be bothered to get through at all. It's because they give up after many attempts to get through, as no one at the health centre can be bothered to answer them. And this lady, Kathy Weir, disagrees. But on we go. Down to Leslie H. I rang my GP this morning and got through after 9 calls. And they say Cherry Valley is worse than other places. And then Christine B. from Ballyhackamore says, our out of hours service at Forside was closed for the summer. We were told to go to the Mater Hospital if need be. You wonder why they close these services in a pandemic. It just puts more pressure on A&E. Same for all the people who can't access normal surgery. And I'm going to 22 more comments. And Jacqueline Scott answers, and then Kim Spence answers back. I get that there would be an increase in people trying to ring through, but 5 days to try and get an answer is beyond ridiculous. GPs are not seeing patients as normal, so maybe the surgeries need to open up way more telephones. And there's somebody, Ian Smith. Harland practice is the same. Phone for 45 minutes was cut off. The phone endlessly rang each time. Tried next morning, and in the end I called down to make an appointment and the surgery was empty with receptionist free. Naomi Beckett. It has been bad. I did get through this morning, but they were only taking emergencies today. Christine B. Why aren't surgeries open for longer hours instead of reducing the amount of patients they see? On the continent, GPs are open until 8 p.m. on Saturday mornings, and COVID-19 or not. They are seeing patients as normal. Why are we different? If GPs don't want to see sick people, who will? I just find it remarkable that since this announcement that these phone consultations would continue after lockdown, I just find it remarkable that nobody in our assembly, none of the MLAs seem to be in the slightest bit concerned about this. They're not highlighting this. I have brought this to the attention of my own MLA through telephone call twice, and I reckon that my phone call has been filed in B1N. The news media, the newspapers aren't calling this out, and the church that should be the last bastion of the weak and the poor and the lonely and the vulnerable and people with no voice, the church has totally remained silent on this and said nothing. Nothing. Yet the moderator of the Presbyterian Church, he can jump onto his feet, literally or symbolically or metaphorically, and deride Mr. Higgins for not coming to his special centenary do up in Belfast. And he can also jump to his feet about climate change. But I mean, here is an issue that is pertinent, that is urgent, and he's saying nothing. And because he says nothing, the rest of the Presbyterian Church says nothing. And none of the church leaders are saying anything about this either. I mean, it's staring them in the face. Well, you know, it's the elephant in the room, and this is what people are concerned about.